Now, my build for the Sound On Audio show may be in jeopardy if I don't get this fixed, so we got to get on this ASAP. Just a reminder, we've got a bunch of equipment from the sponsor of today's video, Def Monts. And of course, at the end of this series, we're giving away some of these Fight 15-inch subs. Definitely giving away 2, but might give away 4 or even, hey, even 6 or 8 if we get to 100,000 subscribers here in the next couple weeks. To be entered, you just gotta be subscribed to this YouTube channel and you gotta like my Facebook page, guys. So please go do those. I really, really appreciate y'all. Back to the video. Now, I told y'all that right when I started this build, after I'd ordered all the stuff, I started having some weird electrical issues with this car. Went around and realized a couple grounds were bad. Got all that fixed up. Everything seemed to be fine. Now, when sitting here and idling, have no issues. Again, everything seems to be good. Charges right at 14.6 generally, which is perfect. This alternator is set at between that and 14.8, so happy there. But I realized when I drive it, the volts will spike. All of a sudden, the volt on my little volt gauge will jump way up. All the lights will flicker. Lights will all come on the dash. If I have my fan on, it'll all of a sudden start blowing really, really hard for a second. So yeah, just super weird stuff like that. And obviously, guys, that is absolutely no good. That can damage a lot of electrical components in your car. Just overall, not good for what we're doing here. Now, obviously, if my charging system isn't working, I can't drive this down to the show, can't give out demos, all that fun stuff. That would be a disaster, guys. I would hate to put all this work into this just to be not even able to use it. Now, I have a brand X alternator in here, and it is internally regulated. So it's set within the alternator to run, again, about 14.8 volts. Now, stock, these cars are not internally regulated. I believe there's a PCM that regulates them. So, of course, when you go and read online, it says, hey, that could be going bad. But, again, since this alternator is internally regulated, I don't really know what else it could be. So, in this video, we're going to do some troubleshooting, make sure that is definitely what the issue is, and then we're going to have to scramble to figure out what the heck we're going to do about either getting this alternator fixed or getting a new one in before the show. Okay, now, of course, I have this guy right here. This reads the volts at the back battery, but when you have your batteries in, they act as kind of a cushion against that voltage surge, so you're not going to see the full extent of it. So what I am doing, I am actually going to wire up another voltmeter right next to it that's going to go right to the lines that run to the alternator, just so we'll get a little bit more of a direct reading up in the front of the car. Now, in my truck, I had this little guy which goes right into your cigarette lighter location. Now, y'all, it's definitely not perfect. It's a cheap little voltmeter, but I don't need perfect. I need something that at least just gets close and gives me a good idea of what's going on, and it always worked super well in the truck. So, went ahead, popped out the old cigarette lighter that was here. I never use it anyway. This little fella is going to mount right in there, just like that. So that'll be perfect. We're then going to, of course, just run it straight to that front battery. Now I've got some 18 gauge wire here. This will be plenty. I've had to make up a little doohickey here. It's really, really tight under there where I got to fish this wire through, but hopefully this will work. All right. Perfect. All right, I've got this all wired up on this side. That'll, of course, plug right into here. Now, at the moment, it will be set to be on constantly, but I'll wire in a little switch over here somewhere just so I can turn it on and off. Nice thing about this being read directly to the battery, I can have it, you know, on when the car's off if I need it. If I need to just flip it on, see what I'm doing, I'll be good to do that. All right, got the little guy hooked up here. Let's hook up the battery. All right, there we go, guys. This will be handy. All right, we're gonna turn the car on. Do this little test. Yep, 14.6. Okay, of course I tried to video it, but I couldn't get it to happen on video. Didn't feel like sitting there filming for too long. But anyway, y'all get the picture, so you tell me in the comments, that's gotta be my alternator going bad, since it regulates itself on the voltage. Okay, so what I'm thinking, I still have my stock alternator, so I think I'm gonna pull this guy off, put on the stock one. If I don't have any problems whatsoever, then hey, that means it's definitely the alternator. If I still have problems, then there's something else crazy going on. Who knows? That would be a pain, but hopefully that's it. Now, assuming it is my alternator, it's like 4 or 5 weeks away until the sundown show. I either have to get that shipped off, fixed, and back to me pretty quick. Maybe somebody could tell me how to DIY fix it, or if there's a company out there that makes alternators for these things, that has one that's ready to go, that charges around that 14.6, 14.8. Maybe that would be an option as well. Point being, I got to get this figured out ASAP. Real quick, we had another package from Def Bonds come in, and they couldn't bring the tractor trailer up my driveway, so I had to go meet them in town. All right, I dug out the old factory alternator over here. Obviously dirty, worse for wear kind of looking, but I guess it'll have to do for this test. All right, to get this alternator off, I gotta pull all this stuff off up here. Got my serpentine belt. You can't really see it right in there. Gotta take that off. We gotta pull off my, I think, power steering pump. We gotta pull this tray off as well to get to the alternator. Really not looking forward to this, guys, but I guess, hey, gotta do what we gotta do. Let's get to it. There's that Brand X sitting right up there. Still actually looks nice and new. So anyway, whatever. Got to get this thing out. All right, serpentine belt is off. So next, gotta disconnect everything from the alternator, and we gotta loosen up my power steering pump. Hopefully it'll all come out without too much trouble. Okay, my one kind of big gripe with this Brand X alternator, and this was a huge problem when I had to put this thing in, but the alternator slides in this way, and then on the stock one, the plug would have come straight out, so it's no problem. On the Brand X one, it comes down, so you have to shave all this metal off, and then this guy plugs on this side. So basically your alternator is sandwiched, or you have this piece of metal is sandwiched between your alternator. So then to pull this thing out, you have to take a screwdriver up in here, pop this off, which is just, it's really hard to see, hard to know what you're doing, but once you do that, the alternator is free. Here are the two alternators. Again, as you can see here, this plug goes straight out, so it does not interfere with that bracket, where that bracket sits right here, which would be right here, totally fine. Again, a really dumb design on this guy's part. All they would need to change with this plug would need to be coming out the back, and it would be all right. But oh well, guys, is what it is. Now you notice this is a 4-pin plug that would coincide to 4 pins on your stock connector. Now the Sequoia voltage is regulated by the PCM. So there was an actual computer in the Sequoia that reads voltage, sends the information back to here, and regulates it. What that means is this guy's voltage is set to what the computer thinks it should be set to, which is around like 13.6 or so, which of course is just not really great for a bigger audio system. Now this guy bypasses that. You'll notice we only have one wire going from our plug over to here. That is of course our ignition switched wire. You then have this plug here. This guy would plug in like this. This little plug just sits here. All this does is it reads the voltage that is going through this guy, and it relays it back to the regulator that's inside this guy over here, and it reads your voltage. Now, if this wire was to have a bad connection or be going bad, that could, I suppose, be the issue. I don't think that's what's going on here, but we're going to go ahead and test. Shove that guy up in there. Jiggling it all around, as you can see, and we're not losing connection at all, so that is not my issue. All right, next up, y'all, we're going to throw the stock guy back in there, and we'll see if that solves our problem. All right, stock alternator hooked back up. Power steering hooked back up as well. Now just got to put the belt back on, hook back up all the little random hoses, put the intake back on, and I guess we're going to have it. Okay, everything hooked up. Battery hooked back up. Let's test it out. First off, we're of course sitting at 2.5 volts. Lift the car off. Let's see what happens when we turn it on. Okay, it's saying 14. Okay, you can see once this thing warms up, it charges at 13.6. Okay, I know I've got stuff all over my face, guys, but anyway, I'm gonna go take this for a little drive, see if it still keeps doing that same issue, or if we're good to go. Wish me luck. Okay, so I drove the Sequoia for a good little while just to make sure that was it, and had absolutely no problems, hung out right at the normal operating voltage that it should the entire way. Yesterday I did the exact same thing, and every time I drive for more than 2 or 3 minutes, the voltage would start just acting crazy, making all kinds of weird things happen. So it looks like that this is definitely the culprit of my issues. Now, that being said, guys, looks like I have 3 options if we're gonna make it to the sundown show. Option number 1 is just to run the stock alternator. It works. It'll at least, allow me to drive down to the show. I am putting a massive, massive battery bank in the Sequoia, so I guess we could just charge it up real good before the show and then demo as long as we can, just giving more brakes and whatnot to allow for the battery bank to charge up from the, of course, slower alternator that this thing has. Option number 2 would be to go get a new high output alternator. Now there's 2 problems with that. One, I would need something, here within 3 or 4 weeks if I was gonna have time to get it back on the Sequoia before the show. 2, I need something pretty specific. I think JS alternators and Mechman both have kind of off the shelf versions of this high output alternators that we could put in, but from what I've at least seen just from quickly looking online, it doesn't look like they're self-regulated. Looks like they just run off the PCM regulating the voltage. So if I went with either of those options, I'd be stuck at that 14.6-ish voltage range, which just wouldn't be great. I could get another custom one built where it'd be internally regulated to 14.8 volts. But I know when I ordered this from Brand X, it was like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 weeks. Every single, really custom alternator that I have ordered has just taken a ton of time to get here. Afraid if I go ahead and order one, it might not show up in time. Option number 3 would be to send this guy off and go into and get it fixed. I think the alternator itself isn't working properly. I think it's just a regulator in it that is messed up, because generally speaking, it seems to sit there at 14.6 volts, no problem, and I haven't noticed any other issues. That being said, I don't have a clamp meter, so I have not tested it for amperages and all that fun stuff. But regardless, again, could get this sent off, get somebody to have it fixed. Maybe that would be a good option. In the comments, guys, I want you to let me know what you guys think is the best option. Regardless, I've got the stock one in there, so we're going to keep it in there. So guys, let me know in the comments what you think I should do and who I should go with. All right, YouTube, that's going to do it for this video. I appreciate each and every one of you. Remember, of course, about the giveaway that we got going on. Once again, a huge shout out to Alfred Audio and Big Jeff Audio. And guys, remember, as always, keep basing on.